Tommy's return to Power Rangers was iconic. After so many years away from the show, Tommy was back in Power Rangers in a big way, as the mentor and teammate of the new Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Today we are continuing Tommy's story through Power Rangers with his debut as the Black Dino Ranger and his best episode in all of Power Rangers, Fighting Spirit. A brief recap of what's happened with Tommy after his Zeo storyline. He stuck around for another season of Power Rangers under the new moniker of the Red Turbo Ranger. And do not get me started on that movie and the poorly executed transition from Zeo to Turbo. But anyway, Jason David Frank wanted to leave the show after all his time with it and agreed to be in 20 more episodes, which would allow them to find a replacement. Catherine Sutherland also wanted to leave, so at that point the creators thought, why not just phase everyone out? And I'm sure Johnny Young Bosch and Nikita Parise were like, what the heck? Seriously, you could have kept Adam and Tanya around. Maybe make Adam the leader of the team for a bit. That would be some cool character growth for him. But even with that, we got a new cast who were really good, and in a flimsy two-parter we said goodbye to Tommy Oliver on Power Rangers. That two-parter passing the torch was not a very good storyline. The first 20 episodes should have been about introducing and developing the new characters so they can fill in for the ones we've been following for years, as well as what the Rangers' lives after high school would entail, the next stage of their development. But we didn't do any of that, we just threw these characters around for 20 episodes before replacing them. In any case, Tommy left the show before years later he returned for the Forever Red special in Wild Force where all of the past Red Rangers teamed up. I've talked about this in my Power Rangers What If video, but the initial plan for Ninja Storm was to have Tommy be the mentor of the new team, in charge of organizing various Ranger teams under one roof to deal with big threats. But that was scrapped when Disney bought Power Rangers and moved production to New Zealand. The idea of Tommy leading a new team of Rangers did stick, however, as we enter Power Rangers Dino Thunder, my favorite season of Power Rangers. This, in a lot of ways, was a 2000s reinvention of the first season of Mighty Morphin. We follow a group of teenagers, but instead of the teen extremes of the 90s, it's the teen extremes of the 2000s. The soccer jock, the computer geek, and the punk rocker. Connor, played by James Napier Robinson, who went on to become a writer and director. Ethan, played by Kevin Duhaney, who also played Cameron from Total Drama. Kira, played by Emma Lahana, who was Penny Lane in the Big Time Rush movie, as well as the villain Mayhem from Cloak and Dagger. These teens were being mentored by their teacher, Dr. Oliver, or Tommy. After he stopped being a ranger, Tommy went to college where he met Haley, played by Ismay Johnston, a computer genius. Tommy also met his partner in science and archaeology, Anton Mercer, played by Latham Gaines. Tommy and Anton worked together to study DNA and found 3 crystals called the Dino Gems from the meteor that killed the dinosaurs. They contained power from the morphing grid and they built morphers and Zords. When suddenly Anton Mercer had a bad case of Jekyll and Hyde, as he transformed into the mad scientist Mesogog, a result of experimenting on himself with dinosaur DNA. Tommy ran away, blowing up the island they were working on, or so he thought. But that was it for now before he got a job as a teacher. Mesogog wasn't dead, however, and was back for revenge. Through a bunch of shenanigans, the teens become the Power Rangers. And so the fight was on between the Power Rangers and Mesogog, who can create monsters with his mutation machine. He also has minions. First is Elsa, played by Mirama Smith, a woman Mesogog captured and experimented on. Second is Zeltrax, a human who was rebuilt using circuitry. He was played by James Galen, who also played Cheetar from Operation Overdrive, General Banog from SPD, and Colonel Truman from RPM. Where we're at in the story now is Tommy got captured by Mesogog, who wants Tommy to open a stone of his, and our heroes are going to save him after seeing his video diary as a Power Ranger. With all that said, my name is Rocko from Reamlore, and let's dive in. By the way, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We upload videos just like this one on our Reamlore channel. We upload a great new video every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 3 p.m, so make sure you're subscribed with that bell pressed to get notified when we upload. We're trying to hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers, so if you subscribe, it will mean a lot to us. Dino Thunder Episode 5, Back in Black. The theme song of Dino Thunder is so good. It's such a catchy tune, and the wave of nostalgia I got from hearing it. It's a top 10 Power Ranger theme if you ask me. After a brief recap of what happened last time, Haley found an invisiportal to Mesogog space. Those things were the main source of travel for our bad guys, but sometimes they can just appear randomly, which might tear apart the space-time continuum, but don't worry about it. The problem for our Rangers is they need to hit this particular portal at a high speed, which is when Haley reveals motorcycles for them to drive. They're called the Raptor Cycles, which look overly bulky, but I love them. This has been a thing in Power Rangers for many seasons now, which is fine. Except some of the teams like this one that receive bikes are not old enough to drive them. Well, I guess they do drive giant robots, so this isn't that far off. Also, they had gotten Raptors to ride in a battle in Episode 3, and now on Episode 5 they have already become superfluous. I'll talk about that more in a bit. Anyways, they morph and ride off. And real quick, I like the Dino Thunder suits. With the white spikes on the side, it really does look like a tribute to the original Mighty Morphin suit. suits. Meanwhile, Mesogog is about to torture Tommy to get him to unleash the gem, but Mesogog realizes he'll never do it unless his students are in danger. Mesogog also says something interesting. When Tommy says the good guys always win, Mesogog says he is the good guy. This is a big part of Mesogog's character. He's not the standard take over the world or destroy the world conqueror. He wants to mutate the planet and populate it with dinosaur mutants just like him, because he thinks the dinosaur breed like him is the superior species, that the best way forward is to become just like him. It's a cool and different motivation from the usual bad guys we meet in Power Rangers, and it's very neat. The Rangers arrive at the Invisiportals, but Zeltrax, Elsa, and a squid monster appear to intercept them with a squad of Pteranodrones. I know Disney moved production to New Zealand to save money, but they also did spend a fair amount on this show. All of this is original footage with sparks and explosions. Looking back, I realize most fights in the Disney era were original footage. Kudos there for really trying to make an original story and do some cool stuff. And the fight they have is pretty cool with the motorcycle battling, which I wish was in more action shows and movies. I love seeing monsters get run over and blasted with a motorcycle. Also, for some bizarre reason in the Disney era of Power Rangers, whenever someone is going to fire a blaster or a gun or whatever, they have to say FIRE at the top of their lungs. I have no idea why, but I secretly love it. I also love Zeltrax and Elsa. They are just wonderfully evil bad guys who get their butts kicked on a weekly basis, but keep coming back with something new. The Rangers blow past the bad guys and ride through the portal to Mesogog's lab. Our heroes run into Mesogog, and I have to give all the credit in the world to Latham Gaines. He is killing it in this role. The voice, the inflections, the way he moves around, it's awesome. And the mask and makeup look incredible. I think this may be my favorite design for a monster in Power Rangers. Anyways, he's super creepy and goes to mind crush them with his powers, but his goons teleport in and he hits them instead, allowing our heroes to get away. That was really funny. Our heroes reunite with Tommy and free him, getting an Invisiportal to open for them while they talk about him formerly being a Ranger. We also have to talk about something. This series does keep the same continuity that Tommy lost the green, white, and red turbo powers, all destroyed or passed down. Except we saw he still had the red Zeo power when they did the Forever Red special. How he lost those, we'll never know. The bad guys show up and a fight breaks out in the bad guy's lair, and this is normally something that happens at the end of the season, but we're getting it really early on. Tommy also gets in on the action, but without powers, he's no match for Mesogog, who can also move around and fight like he's Bruce Lee. I love Mesogog. In fact, later in the season, Mesogog fights Lothor, the villain from Ninja Storm, a space ninja galactic conqueror, and Mesogog absolutely destroys him. Mesogog could be unarguably the best villain in Power Rangers. Our heroes escape with Tommy grabbing the stone Mesogog wanted him to open. When they get back to Reefside, the bad guys follow and Zeltrax blasts the rock in Tommy's hand and it seemingly blew him up. That didn't happen, however. Instead, Tommy turned invisible and reappeared, showing off the Black Dino gem that was in the stone. I didn't mention it before, but all the Rangers have civilian powers thanks to their Dino gems. Connor has super speed, Ethan has scale armor, and Kira has a sonic scream. Tommy shows off his Dino Morpher and morphs into the Black Dino Ranger. I absolutely love this. It was a genius move to bring Tommy back for this season and make him the Black Ranger, continuing his story and helping the current team. And the suit is great as well. A black and gold design looks very nice. The gold color and the gold shoulder pads being a reference to his green and white Ranger shields. Zeltrax then says one more makes no difference. Zeltrax, you were getting thrashed when it was only 3 Rangers. Now there's a 4th and it's Tommy frickin' Oliver. The fight is epic as always, but there's a downside. I really don't like the stock music they use for this show. So often the tracks they pick don't fit Power Rangers or even the scene they're in. For example, the Rangers would defeat a monster and there would be some dramatic, shocking reveal music that doesn't fit the scene at all. For my videos, when I get stock music, I try to get music that fits what I'm talking about. I don't just load up whatever I feel like. The theme song more than makes up for it though, and in later Disney seasons they get original tracks. It's a massive fight with great dialogue and action. Elsa and Zeltrax run off while the Rangers combine their weapons just like the Mighty Morphin Team and destroy the monster. Tommy is still the coolest here when he tells Zeltrax he'll let him live only to deliver a message to Mesogog that he'll never defeat him. It's so cool. I also have to mention they make a joke about Tommy being too old for this when in the Power Rangers timeline he's only 25 years old. He was 18 in Turbo, went to college for 4 years, and did the island thing for 3. Mesogog makes the monster grow by creating a rainstorm that makes pieces of the monster expand and reform. I love it. Thankfully for our Rangers, the Black Gem awakened the Brachiozord, which acts as a carrier Zord for the Ranger Zords. They form the Megazord, which looks cool, but then from nowhere, Haley just goes, oh yeah, I have another Zord called the Cephalozord. Okay, I was willing to buy that Gem awoke invoke the Brachiozord, but I can't accept this one just appearing from nowhere. Anyways, we learn Tommy can control the extra Zords with his Morpher and helps out the team, linking up with the Megazord to give it a super boxing glove, which they use to destroy the monster. So to recap for you, in just this one episode, only 5 episodes into this season, we got 3 bikes, 2 more Zords, and a new Ranger. That's a bit much, and you probably could have spread them out a bit more. I really like Tommy becoming the Black Ranger here, but he really should have become a Ranger later in the season. Keep in mind, this storyline started in episode 3. The Rangers have barely been a team thus far. They were just figuring out their dynamics. Now they already have a shakeup in the status quo with a new Ranger, plus the bikes and Zords. I would have liked if we kept the 3-person team a little bit longer for another 4 or 5 episodes, and then you can introduce the Black Ranger and all this other stuff. Have Tommy be the guy in the chair, giving guidance and helping out the team from the lab until this storyline, and then reveal Haley works with Tommy and takes over as the girl in the chair. But this works as well, and our heroes meet up at the Cyber Cafe, where Tommy explains he was about to tell them about a dino gem he found, but he got captured. That's why he had a Morpher ready to go. The episode ends with Tommy making a joke about wearing only black, which is a funny in-joke. If you haven't caught on by now, the Rangers have to wear clothes that match their Ranger color in every season of Power Rangers, and that is a time-honored tradition. You're allowed to wear different outfits, but they have to match your Ranger color. That's the end of this episode, but how does it rank? Characterization, I'm giving a 3. It's pretty solid across the board, only we kind of jump from action scene to action scene to action scene. Now this works here because we got all that character stuff in the previous episode during the clip show. The story, I'm giving a 5. It's a good story. Our heroes have to fight to save their mentor from the bad guys by invading their base. And Tommy becoming a Ranger was a cool twist you didn't see coming. Entertainment gets a 6. This was so much fun. Dino Thunder is a great season that just goes, we're going to have as much fun as possible. Importance gets a 5. A lot was introduced in this episode, so if you miss it, you will be lost going forward. Also, it's Tommy being a full-time Ranger again after years and years away from the show. It's a must-watch. Next up in Dino Thunder is Tommy's best episode in all of Power Rangers, Fighting Spirit. A few things have happened leading up to this episode. The one worth noting more than anything is the debut of the coolest Power Ranger in history, the White Dino Ranger. He is so awesome and his debut needs to be witnessed by everyone. If I had the time, I would gush about this guy all day. The White Ranger is Trent Mercer, played by Jeffrey Perazzo, who is Anton Mercer's adopted son. He obtained the White Ranger powers by accident, and since they were corrupted with evil, he became an evil Ranger, the power taking over and eventually corrupting him. I really liked this because it was a reimagining of the Green with Evil saga from Mighty Morphing, and it is very good. Highly recommend. The White Dino Ranger absolutely destroyed both the Rangers and the monsters every single time with his awesome voice, super speed, laser arrows, and the most impractical, awesome edgelord super mode you've ever seen. He also stole many of the Ranger Zords for himself, just like Zanaku from Wild Force, which I really liked. The most evil thing he did during this arc, however, was freeze Tommy in Amber. When the Rangers did get him out, Tommy couldn't demorph, being stuck as a Power Ranger and then being permanently invisible. The reason this was done was because Jason David Frank had it in his contract to take a break in between filming to spend time with his family. Meanwhile, Trent was able to escape the evil power thanks to his dad. Anton saved his son from being executed by Mesogog, which also destroyed the evil programming in the Dino Gem. Trent joined the team, but Zeltrax made a copy of the evil White Ranger who works for Mesogog. This was done because in the Sentai, Abare Killer, as he's known, I love that name, didn't join the team until the tail end of the show. So that was to help with Sentai footage, but the White Dino clone is nothing. They don't do anything interesting with him to make the character memorable. Why don't they have him question his existence or identity since he is a clone? In fact, later in the season, he starts dying because he's pure morphing grid energy and 2 of the same Ranger can't exist at once. And it seemed like we were going to do something with him and the other Rangers, but we don't, and it's a letdown. Dino Thunder, Fighting Spirit. At the Dino base, Haley has found a way to make Tommy visible again. Tommy explains the remolecularizer powered by his Dino Gem could reform him, but Haley is against it since it's a bit risky. They go through the procedure even with Haley's protest and things go bad. Tommy gets a full blast from his Dino Gem which destroys it and reforms him, but he gets knocked into a coma. Meanwhile, Elsa had the White Dino clone make another Terrorsaurus. I forgot to mention they took samples of the evil White Dino clone's DNA to create a monster called the Terrorsaurus. He was super powerful, but the Rangers destroyed him thanks to Connor's Triassic form. Terrorsaurus is back now though, and he looks a bit different. Mesogog asks why he's here since he failed before, but Elsa shows off a rock that has the same components as the Dino Gems. That will render them useless. The Rangers took Tommy to a hospital and they have no idea what's going on, just that his brainwaves are all over the place. The Rangers head out to fight Terrorsaurus 2, who is just as strong as Terrorsaurus 1, and the fight doesn't go well for them, even when Trent shows up to help. Trent is actually the first one who gets knocked down, which is something I should address. After the White Dino clone was created, Trent's powers got a lot weaker. They never address it in the show, but it's pretty obvious the White Dino Ranger is not as strong as he used to be. Again, they don't outright say it, but the theory is that since two people are using the same power, it's weaker because they're sharing it. If that's the case, kudos to the creators, because if a fully powered White Ranger was on the team, he would easily take down Mesogog by himself. Or that's all nonsense and it's just the curse of extra Rangers getting nerfed when they join the team. Anyways, Pterosaurus 2 takes down the Rangers one by one, and once they demorph, Pterosaurus 2 uses the stone to mess with their morphers. Pterosaurus 2 is also dumb because even though the Rangers are helpless before him, he just leaves instead of destroying them. Now this could be because he thinks they're not really a threat without their powers, but they've clearly proven they're crafty and formidable. They'll find a way to win if you let them live. Meanwhile, inside Tommy's head, he finds the Zeo Red Ranger, who he fights in a super cool scene. Tommy struggles because he doesn't have his Dino Gem, but he pushes through it and fends off the Red Ranger. Later, Tommy finds the White Ranger, and you can tell what this episode is about. Tommy fighting for his life in a metaphorical sense by literally fighting versions of himself from the past. This is pretty cool, not just because Tommy is going to fight his former Ranger identities, but also JDF was gone for quite a few episodes, and this was his big return. He did ADR, and Tommy was still around as a character, but it's not the same as having the actor there. Back in the real world, the Rangers bump into the characters we missed in Back in Black, Cassidy and Devon. Devon was played by Tom Hearn, who is in a bunch of New Zealand projects. And Cassidy was played by Katrina Devon, who also played Mara from Ninja Storm. Cassidy and Devon were the comedic duo for this season. Since Bulk and Skull were a hit in the original Mighty Morphing, many seasons of Power Rangers have had a comedic duo, and while some of them were really fun, some of them were not. And let's be real, no one is beating out the real heroes Bulk and Skull. Their comedic timing and creative bits have never and will never be beat. Not to mention the character arc they go over through 6 seasons of Power Rangers. Cassidy and Devon were really fun though, I like them. The rich popular girl with her sniveling toady lead to a lot of great bits when they're snooping out a story for the news. And like Bulk and Skull, they have character arcs. Cassidy learning to be less of a mean girl and find integrity with reporting, and Devon learning to stand up for himself and even ask out Cassidy at the end of the show. Fun fact for you, by the way, when the creative team saw early pictures of the Triassic Ranger, they thought it was a new Ranger, and the plan was to make Devon a Power Ranger. Can you imagine that? The comedic bumbling stooge of the popular girl becoming a Power Ranger? That would have been insane. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because the Triassic Ranger was a power-up, not a new Ranger. The Rangers tell these guys the Rangers weren't here as we cut back to Tommy fighting the White Ranger. It's super cool and Tommy is getting thrashed, but Tommy uses some of his new moves his past self wouldn't know and fends him off. Back with Cassidy and Devon, they get told by their boss to run the story that the Power Rangers have abandoned Reefside, so they get a big headline. Glad to know the news channels are accurately depicted. Cassidy is stoked she's getting the lead story, but Devon is against this, saying the Power Rangers wouldn't abandon them, and they shouldn't run with a story without knowing all of the facts. This guy is smarter than 90% of the internet. Cassidy only cares about finally getting the lead story, which has been her goal all season, but Devon says if she does this, she does it without him. At the hospital, everyone is worried about Tommy, saying how important he is to them as a teacher, mentor, teammate, and friend. In Tommy's head, he's facing off against his final challenge, his constant adversary, the Green Ranger, making his big return. He throws the Dragon Dagger at Tommy, and when it appears, it plays a variation of the classic tune. That was a great touch. Green Ranger is back and he finally has his rubber shield again. They finally built one after years of using a cheap fabric knockoff. And for some reason, they added this weird silver stripe to the helmet. I have no idea why, that seemed like it took extra effort to paint that silver. I should also mention, even though Tommy was the Red Turbo Ranger, he doesn't fight him. It's weird the Red Turbo Ranger was not represented, but that was probably because of time constraints. That one is always overlooked as one of Tommy's Ranger outfits. But to be honest, Tommy was only the Turbo Ranger for a short time, and that suit is more associated with TJ. Tommy fights the Green Ranger, a callback to the Return of the Green Ranger, and this is just awesome, especially with the callback with him using the Dragon Dagger to kick up electricity. The other Rangers meanwhile head out to fight Pterosaurus 2, because even without their powers, they're still Rangers who need to protect people. If you haven't figured it out yet, the main message of this episode is a big message for all of Power Rangers. Tommy and all the other Rangers don't have their powers, but despite that, they go out and fight anyways. Because what makes a Ranger isn't the power, it's the willingness to go out and fight for what's right. Every Ranger team has some story depicting this message, and it's great every time. I think it should be mandatory for each Ranger team to learn. The Rangers try their best, but it's clear Pterosaurus 2 is just playing with them since they can't hurt him. Tommy tries his best as well, but it's the Green Ranger. At his strongest, he was taking down entire Ranger teams by himself. I would say at his peak, Green Ranger was on par with the White Dino Ranger. Tommy says despite being outmatched, he'll never stop fighting, which is when Green Ranger stops. His other Ranger forms appear and says Tommy hasn't been fighting them, but rather fighting for his life, and he won. They hold out the pieces of his Dino Gem and he reclaims his Black Dino powers, which wakes him up in the real world. Cassidy is on the air and is about to say the Power Rangers abandoned Reefside, but seeing Devon nearby, she instead hijacks the news and says the Power Rangers would never abandon them. Like I said, they go through character arcs. Devon standing up to Cassidy telling her this is wrong, and Cassidy growing as a person doing the right thing. It makes them stand out against the multiple comedic pairs trying to recreate the magic of Bulk and Skull. Pterosaurus 2 is done playing and is about to finish the Rangers, but Tommy shows up to help. I also forgot the Rangers call him Dr. O. I love that. Tommy morphs, which is something we haven't seen for a long time, and he gets his Super Dino mode. All the other Rangers got a Super Dino mode, and they look pretty silly, I will admit, with the spikes spiking out. But as a kid, I thought they looked awesome. Tommy goes one-on-one with Pterosaurus 2, and it's pretty freaking awesome. He single-handedly takes down the most powerful monster we have seen thus far in the season. He also destroyed the stone, which restored the Rangers' powers, which is handy because Pterosaurus 2 has grown giant. The Rangers summon the Megazord, and they go Super Dino mode, which supercharges their Megazord, and they do their main attack, which is them stabbing the monster with their drill hand and kill him. I love that so much. Back at base, Tommy thanks his students for believing in him through thick and thin, and Connor even starts to cry. The episode ends with everyone happy Tommy is back. Characterization, I'm giving a 5. Everyone is so strong in this story. The standout is Tommy fighting for his life, which is great, and everyone fighting without their powers is also cool. Story, I'm also giving a 5. The way this is set up to have Tommy fight his past Ranger personas is really cool. Plus, bringing back Pterosaurus upped the stakes because of the impact he had in a previous story arc. Entertainment gets a 6. This was so much fun to watch. The action was top tier, and most of it was original footage. Importance, I'm giving a 5. It's the return of Jason David Frank in person for the show. It's a must watch, especially since he's back for the rest of the season. I won't spoil how Dino Thunder ends, you should watch that season for yourself, but regardless, these were phenomenal episodes and it was a great season. Highly recommend. Tune in next time when I talk about the last few episodes featuring Tommy as a Power Ranger, specifically a Ninja Steel and shockingly Street Fighter. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.